Hello, and welcome to another episode of Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing. I'm one of your Luminous co-hosts, Gianna Whitver, and my other Luminous co-host is out today. Maria Velasquez is currently traveling, but what we do have for you is a third Luminous person. We have Yuliya Gorenko. Hi, Yuliya. She is a marketing and communications expert. She is the owner and founder of Mischka, an influencer marketing agency that focuses on different industries, but also our favorite industry, cybersecurity. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, Gianna, I'm super excited to be here.
So before we jump in, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into this world of cybersecurity, which is super kind of random place to be, right?
Sure. So actually, I started from the world of beauty, which is definitely a very dramatic, transition from beauty to cybersecurity. I've been in the marketing space for over a decade now. The first company that I ever worked for is L'Oreal, which I'm sure a lot of listeners would recognize. I spent around 4 years there. I ran their PR and digital marketing for the three consumer brands, Garnier, Maybelline, and L'Oreal. And after that, I took a very bold step, and I was hired by a pretty big VPN company to actually build the influencer program for them. Since then, I've worked with a variety of tech brands, and later co-founded actually an influencer marketing agency. And currently we work with mobile apps, cybersecurity brands, ad tech brands. And a client that would be probably the most relatable for our listener community is Delete Me. It's a cybersecurity brand that removes your personal data that's being sold online.
Oh, that's so cool. I would love to know, because we're going to dive in deeper, but I would love to know, before we talk about differences and what you've brought in, is there any key defining thing that makes them very similar?
Yes.
Beauty,
yes.
I feel like. Yeah, tell us.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people might be listening to this episode and would be like, why the hell, they brought this girl from L'Oreal? What is she going to tell us about cybersecurity? But actually, I want you to think about this. Both beauty and cybersecurity are universal needs. Everybody wants to, have a good skin and clean hair, and everybody doesn't want to be hacked, right? So it's a very universal product or solution that you're offering. So I think, we can find a lot of similarities.
That's a good point. It's that, a lot of folks in the world are using makeup and hair products and shampoo and eyeliner. I have some on right now. And then everybody needs cybersecurity solutions. It's just hard sometimes to get that through that consumer towards that B2C direction, because a lot of folks don't consider it as a need, even though, us in the industry are like, yeah, you should have a VPN. Yeah, you should have a password manager.
Well, so I think people are getting more and more kind of educated about the importance of having some sort of protection and maybe not be so open about sharing their information online. And I think, we as industry professionals, we're contributing a lot to this by, through our marketing efforts, we educate people how important it is to protect their data and protect themselves online.
So tell us a little bit more about the Hotspot Shield VPN days. Tell us about starting, you started doing some unconventional marketing. You started doing influencing stuff. This was in 2017-ish area. Tell us a little bit about those days where you launched your first influencer programs for cybersecurity and security brands.
Yeah. So I think, at this point in 2024, probably everybody has seen those big VPN brands being advertised by YouTubers and then maybe Twitch streamers, etc. But back then, when I just started, it was definitely not a common thing. So the approach, that we chose back then was to see how to kind of deliver this message in a universal way. So, what are our audience segments, and how we can talk about this VPN solution in a more relatable way to very specific audience groups. And, maybe when you think about, oh, I need to market a VPN product, who I'm going to work with, probably with some tech influencers. Yeah, these are the most obvious influencers that you would probably go for. However, as we just said, anybody needs a VPN. When you travel, when you stay in a hotel, in the airport, maybe you travel a lot and you want to access certain content from a different country. So there are so many reasons why somebody might need to use a VPN. And we basically told those stories through the influencers. And I think, this is one of the biggest lessons that I kind of got from the world of beauty. It's the importance of creating stories around your brands. If we step back for a second, and think about, how many beauty brands are out there, and for how many years, let's say mascara has been on the market. Like the first commercial mascara was invented, I think in like 1930s or something. Mm-hmm. And brands have been marketing this mascara product since then. So my point is that you have to be really creative to market like the same product. I mean, mascara has evolved a little bit, but it's still like, it makes your lashes darker at the end of the day. So you have to be really creative to stand out in this like super competitive makeup market where, let's be honest, not that much innovation is happening. So basically, this was one of my biggest takeaway from the world of beauty, that you need to build those stories around your brand to like make it relatable, make it inspiring. And, that's what we did back then with those influencers, so some of the collaborations that we did, some of the successful ones were definitely with the travel YouTubers and Instagrammers, kind of telling the story of how, they're using, I'm a YouTuber. I need to like log into my account, but I'm in the airport or in a hotel and I need to, use the VPN, and this is the VPN that I trust. Again, maybe this is not innovative like right now, but back then it was kind of like a new thing.
That's cool. I still think we're in this early stage of influencers in the industry, and especially this B2B influencers world that we're in right now, because LinkedIn thought leaders, LinkedIn just added a video. Did you see that, Yuliya? They have a video section now that's kind of reminiscent of Instagram Reels. I think we're in this early stage of influencer marketing for B2B, but it's going to happen whether or not we like it or not, basically. Like the platforms are going to push it forward, because the platforms know that consumer elements are exciting to people, because consumer elements are like human centric, right? Like we want to scroll on TikTok. We want to get a dopamine hit. They're going to apply it. LinkedIn's going to take it and apply it to LinkedIn. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Something that I want people to think of, people in the cybersecurity marketing space, is that at the end of the day, we're marketing to humans, and humans don't want to be sold to, especially like we don't want to hear from brands. So, kind of like recruiting those really influential personalities in your space, can be really groundbreaking for your brand when a trusted, expert and opinion leader, openly talks about your brand, mentions your brand. Let's say they speak at a convention and they somehow feature your brand, etc. It can contribute to building, your brand trust and recognition so much, that, I feel like, obviously, like I'm a very big advocate and evangelist of influencer marketing, but I truly believe that marketers who don't leverage influencers in their space are missing out.
I guess one of the reasons people don't work with influencers is because how do you measure the results, right? Like if we work with, so for example, NordVPN, so potentially a previous competitor to Hotspot, or I don't know. NordVPN, we watch Harry Mack on YouTube, my husband and I. He is a freelance rapper who just makes up raps from from words provided by people in the audience, like on the streets of like LA or in Miami or whatever. And he started, NordVPN started sponsoring him. And I'm curious about what are the ways that us in this B2B space, like how can we attribute ROI to engagements like that? Like if we wanted to sponsor an influencer, is there a right way to do it? Should we try going on YouTube? Like, what do you think, Yuliya?
Yeah, great question. Definitely, measurement and attribution can be very challenging in the B2B influencer space, just because, as we know, in B2B, your prospective customer would require more touch points before they actually take this decision to, I don't know, schedule a demo or purchase your solution. With, on the consumer side, basically like we implement tracking URLs, we can implement certain coupon codes to capture the traffic, the conversions, etc. But yeah, on the B2B side, I totally hear you. That's definitely a more common challenge. I would say there are still ways to measure your success. So first of all, yeah, to answer, the part of the question where you asked like how B2B brands can partner with influencers and what do they do. A striking difference that I see between B2B and B2C influencers is how easy it is to get them to agree to work with your brand. So basically what I mean is that in the B2C space, you reach out, you say, hey, I am brand XYZ. I have the budget. Can you create a video for me? And if they think, okay, that's a good fit, you will definitely get a deal. On the B2B side, however, you are dealing not with somebody who is out there for like an easy money grab. You are talking to a very well respected, trusted, opinion leader who probably has been in this space for like several decades and like spoke on all the conventions you can think of and probably has, I don't know, a podcast, a newsletter, a course, etc. And those people, they, I'm going to say it as it is. They just don't want to sell out. Like, so it's much more difficult to actually, as a brand, to get them to work with you on a paid basis. You really need to kind of approach them in a very respectful and, kind of customized way and show, the value that you can offer to them. So let's say, they're traveling to a convention where they will be speaking. Maybe you can sponsor their trip. And that's how, you kind of establish this relationship and make them interested in actually exploring your brand further and introducing your brand to their community.
That's interesting. I like this idea. And this is something that, these are great tactics also for customers. If you want customers to speak on your behalf, sponsor their trip, pay and help them make their way to something, co-submit for speaking sessions. It makes sense for you to be able to give something to an influencer that maybe, you've partnered with them, but you're not selling out. They're not shilling your brand, right? What are some other ways brands can work with cybersecurity B2B influencers that you've seen in this current day and age?
I would definitely recommend establishing a long-term plan for each influencer that you're trying to work with. First, as I said, you want to, have multiple customer touch points, create multiple mentions of your brand by this influencer, and make it as natural as possible, I guess. For instance, the easiest ideas that I can kind of think of would be, if they have a podcast or a newsletter, definitely, you can sponsor those. Maybe they have a blog where you can, again, like sponsor some of the content. However, another idea, and I noticed that this is something that they actually feel more comfortable with, is when you invite them to take part, like in your brand's content creation. So for instance, you want to create a video for your website, or, you are working on an article for a third party media and you ask them to provide a quote. They feel much more comfortable because they feel like they're not pushing your brand to their audience, but they rather come on your territory and just kind of co-create and contribute to what you're doing. there are so many ways that you can engage them. Maybe even, offer them to be a spokesperson on behalf of your brand when they talk to the media. Because again, like the media would rather hear from them than from your brand representative. In terms of like the video content, a fun example I want to give, I just actually saw this video last week. There's a company called Bid Defender. From what I saw, I haven't worked with them, but from what I've seen on their website, they offer both a B2B and a B2C solution. Mm-hmm. And they collaborated with a YouTuber who has, I don't remember how many, like 12 million followers, I think. His name is Dr. Mike. I don't know if you guys know him. So he's like a very famous YouTuber, okay? And he typically covers like certain, topics around health. And like, what would this cybersecurity brand do with this YouTuber? So the way that they approach this partnership, which is fascinating to me, he created a whole video, and you can check it out on his channel. He just posted it like last week. He created a video which was called like a biggest hack in the healthcare history, where he was talking about, the data breach in the healthcare system, where like you as a patient, basically like all your information is now exposed. And it's such a sensitive topic, right? Like your medical data is being out there. So he kind of covered this issue in a very, informative way. And then he introduced Bid Defender as like one of the solutions that, you as a consumer can use to protect yourself. I mean, okay, we're talking about the consumer side of the business again. But my point here is that I don't want as marketers to live in this bubble. Like, okay, I'm a cybersecurity marketer and I'm just going to like hunt down all those cybersecurity influencers. No, take a step back and see, maybe there are some other really cool personalities who can endorse your brand.
Yeah, that's a good point, because of those 12 million Dr. Mike followers, how many of them are your customer or future potential customer, right? It's not all teenagers and nurses and stuff, right?
Yeah. Actually, like the biggest misconception about YouTube is that it's only watched by teenagers. Definitely not.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because it's it is this melting edge of content. With the rise of interesting and entertaining content in cyber, CISO Series has a game show that they do, like a fun game show that's like about cybersecurity but is entertainment. There's this world of like edutainment that blurs the line. And then you can also meet your audience on other platforms. Like, just because someone is a CISO, does that mean they're not on Facebook or Reddit or Instagram? They don't live their lives on LinkedIn.
That's actually so true. I want to tell you a little bit more about, the work that I do for Delete Me. For those who have never heard about this company, it's a company that removes your personal data from data brokers. I run their influencer marketing program. I've been with them for, I think, around a year and a half now. And we've done some super creative and amazing stuff. And kind of, building up on this point that I'm trying to make here, that like, don't limit yourself to those cybersecurity experts. Just as an example, we partnered with a YouTuber who is a farmer. He has like a massive following, and he's just sharing his like daily life updates, like how things are going, with his family, and like maybe he went fishing today, or maybe he, like he just got chicken or whatever. Seriously. And we sponsored a video on his channel where he educated his community about the pig butchering scam. I don't know if you guys heard about it. For those,
explain it for the audience.
For those who are listening, it's a scam when you receive a text message, which is like, obviously you realize that they got the wrong number. And then you kind of like respond to them like, hey, you got their number, but they are trying to like engage you in a conversation, build some rapport and trust with you. And then like kind of trying to pretend to be your friend, they offer you to invest money into their like crypto investment platform, whatever. And then people actually end up losing a lot of money. But it all starts with this innocent, text message. And, we built like this very strong story with this influencer where he explains, he's a farmer. So like he explains this pig butchering scam in a very relatable manner, that his audience understands, like plain, simple words, but actually like explaining, those cybersecurity risks and educating people how you can remove your data. So I think, the biggest takeaway that I want the listeners here to get would be, definitely like don't live in a bubble and like see what other brands are doing, brands that maybe are not even related to your industry at all. Get some inspiration and then bring back this creativity and implement it in your cybersecurity marketing strategies.
And what's awesome about this too is it gives you, actually, I don't know if you're able to use this on other platforms, but if you are able to use it, you actually have some content that can go on other things as well, right? Because why not take, if you can agree to it, if it's in the agreement, why not take what you've done on YouTube, create snippets, put it on LinkedIn ads, where when you're scrolling and you're seeing the hours and hours of endless like B2B boring content, like why not just, there's a farmer with a pig and he's talking about pig butchering. Like that could be, it could flip, you could take that creativeness and put it elsewhere too. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I definitely, echo your point here. Like content repurposing is definitely very important. To your point, yes, you do need to like specifically negotiate it with each influencer that you work with and see if they're comfortable with it and like, the duration and like the specifics, like where you can use the content. But when you're planning your marketing campaign, you kind of can think of all those things in advance and then, not just create the content and have them posted on their end, but also see how you can repurpose it across your paid marketing, paid social, etc.
Awesome. So you mentioned, that would be something you have to specifically negotiate. Can you share a little bit more about negotiation points that maybe brands should be aware of when working with influencers? Because for those of us who are new to it, obviously they can work with you, Yuliya, and get some strategic advice and some influencer management help. But for those who don't have a budget or just are going to try something out, what are some like key negotiation things that that maybe we don't know about that we should be aware of before we reach out?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. My biggest advice to brands would be to have your budget in mind before you reach out to a certain influencer. I understand that if you are absolutely brand new to influencer marketing, you probably have no idea how much those people charge. But I recommend talk to, an expert or maybe like sit down and try to like define the budget that you're ready to invest in this partnership on your own first before you approach them. Because unfortunately, something that I'm seeing quite a lot is that influencers themselves actually also don't know how to charge for their services. Not all of them, but some of them, right? Like, they maybe never thought that they would grow to this point where like a brand would reach out. So when you do, they would be like, I don't know, I guess I'll just like ballpark a certain number. So my biggest advice to brands would be have the number in mind already when you're reaching out to a certain person. And, the proposal should come from you. You need to tell them, hey, I am looking for these deliverables. I don't know, a blog post, a podcast mention. I want you to attend the event that our brand is sponsoring. I want you to like speak at our event, et cetera, et cetera. So you like outline the whole package. You don't want to have them guessing like what do you need from them, right? And then give them the budget proposal. Maybe they will push back. Maybe they will say, you know what, I actually do charge more for that. But then at least you kind of like establish some I don't know, base rate from which you can negotiate. That's probably one of the biggest tips of advice that I'd like to share. Another thing that I want marketers to be aware of is that when you're working with influencers, no matter B2C or B2B, you need to always keep in mind that you need to remind them about the FTC endorsement guidelines. So,
I'm so glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah. So basically, if a person endorses your brand and you're paying them for that, even if you're not necessarily providing monetary compensation, but you are paying for their travels, or maybe you're giving them free access to your product. So you're giving them anything. They have to disclose this monetary connection to your brand openly anytime that they speak about your brand across, all their platforms. So I know that in the B2C space, it's already like everybody kind of knows about it. But I think in the B2B world, it might feel a little like, oh, it's unnecessary. I mean, I just have a connection with this brand. Why do I need to like always say that I'm sponsored? No, you have to, because, and to the marketers who might be listening out there, you also might be thinking to yourself, like, but their endorsement would feel much more authentic if they don't say that this endorsement is sponsored. No, you rather be honest, transparent about it, and then the audience would respect that, and you won't get into any legal trouble as well.
I love that. That's such a good point. I was going to ask about that because I do feel like in the B2B space, it's not transparent. There are influencers in cybersecurity who charge for, being brand ambassadors or being influencers, which is great. And it's great we have those options. But excuse me, pineapple. But I don't think either side knows the rules, right? In Instagram, when you're scrolling, you'll see all these little hashtags that say ad on them or hashtag sponsored, right? So at least you have an idea, but I never see those on LinkedIn ever. I don't think I've seen it once. So it's a great point. So Yuliya, what are some maybe some subtle or soft or non-obtrusive ways to point out that this is an ad? If you had a LinkedIn sponsorship, how would you want it to be included?
You can just say, I partnered with a certain brand. If you're an influencer, you can say, I partnered with brand X, or like this post is brought to you by brand X. Or like, thank you, brand X, for supporting my travels, or something like that. So it does not necessarily have to be like, this is an ad, but it still has to be quite conspicuous and obvious that it's a partnership here,
Very fair. Well, Yuliya, we've learned so much today about influencer marketing and pineapple. I don't know why I don't know how to talk today. So Yuliya, we learned so much today about influencer marketing, about your journey, and about, applying some of this B2C influencing stuff into this B2B world of cyber. Now we're going to play the game, and I'm going to win because Maria's not here. And I love it when I win because I don't win very often when she is here. So we're going to play a game. Well, I'm just going to guess what you would be doing if you were not, and this is kind of tough, right? So if you were not in PR, if you didn't work at beauty brands, we're going to make it big. If you didn't work at consumer brands, and if you didn't work in cybersecurity, and you can't own like a firm or anything. So this is tough. What would you be doing? What would be your job?
So you have to guess.
Art historian.
Oh my God.
Wait, what?
No. That's interesting. No, I was just really surprised, that you said that.
Is it a good surprise or a bad surprise? Are you honored or are you offended?
No, definitely honored. I mean, I very much admire people who know art. Unfortunately, I'm not very educated when it comes to art, but I appreciate art. I don't know if I should share,
tell me the real, what's the real answer?
When I was a kid, I kind of dreamed of being a teacher. I don't know if I still would want to do it, now, but, when I was younger, that's something I was kind of like interested in.
Okay, awesome. So that's close, right? Art historian, you might be teaching about art. And, I don't think I won this round. So the team here who listens and keeps track can mark me as didn't guess right. But thank you so much, Yuliya, for being on today. How can people find Pineapple? How can people contact you if they're interested in learning more about influencer marketing?
I'd say the best way to contact me would be through LinkedIn. I am very responsive and my name is relatively unique. So you probably will find me easily and maybe you guys will share a link in the description. I don't know how it works, but just shoot me a message on LinkedIn and tell me that you heard me speaking on this podcast. I would love to do a quick 30-minute call with people who are maybe interested in learning more about how to set up an influencer program for their brands.
Amazing. And yes, we will put a link to Yuliya's LinkedIn in the show notes. Thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode. If you want to be on Breaking Through in Cybersecurity Marketing, send a note to podcast with an S at cybersecuritymarketingsociety.com. It's such a long URL, but it's so worth it when you reach out. We hope to see you at Cyber Marketing Con this year in December. Tickets are on sale. We've got discounted tickets. Prices go up in October, so make sure you get your tickets today. And of course, as always, leave us a 5 or 6 or 7-star review in the podcast platform of your choice. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.